If you go down to the woods today, you're in for a big surprise. And that surprise is 100-mile-an-hour rally cars competing on the Pirelli International, the second round of the Mobile One Top Gear British Rally Championship here in the Borders. And these particular woods are like no others in Britain. This is the dreaded Kielder, the biggest man-made forest in Europe. For this rally, there were just 4 monster stages, totalling 75 miles. But what did the drivers think of it all?
What I can gather, you can get lost in there, so hopefully we won't do that.
I don't really know why it's got a bad reputation, because it's not really any different to any other forest.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Why?
Because everybody else goes off in there.
Just as on the first round of the championship, Colin McRae was making it look oh so easy. The Subaru was taking everything in its stride, but being first car on the road meant Colin had to find the correct line through the bends. Difficult enough any time, but with patches of ice to catch out the unwary, it's a major challenge. For Trevor Smith in the Sierra Cosworth, life was a little easier. He could follow Colin's tracks. But despite his great experience of Kielder, he was a full 45 seconds behind the Flying Scot on this first 13-mile stage. Although he'd never been here in his life before, Kenny McKinstry from Northern Ireland was going like a train. He was third fastest here and didn't seem to worry about the varying conditions that were on offer. But Killer Kielder was already claiming its victims. Group N contender Robbie Head crashed into a snowy ditch, and in fact only half the field would survive. 23-year-old Mika Solberg from Finland moved to London so he could compete in British rallies. But he's not the only foreigner who's tempted to enter Britain's Premier Championship. Ola Stromberg from Sweden is an ice racing champion, so he must be happy about the wintry conditions in Kielder.
Yeah, I'm a little bit afraid about the weather. I don't like the snow. You don't have any snowbanks.
From much further afield, Jim Gleeson had jetted in to show the Poms how to go rallying. Out in Australia, what do you know about Kielder Forest?
Only that it's pretty rough, and there's about 40 rally cars that went in there over the last 12 months that I don't think have ever come out, so I hope those are rumours only.
Talking about being international, Atsumi Yoshida is a gynecologist in Tokyo and actually enters the rally as Team Gyno.
それでもなんとか、水曜日に出発してですね、日本をね、それで金土日と向こうで走って、火曜日には日本に戻ってきて、その人たちとそういう感じでやってみたいと思ってます。
Yoshi is no stranger to our forests, as he competed on last year's Lombard RAC. But he still had a lot of learning to do, as he'd only had 2 days to get to know his British co-driver Dave Cabina, so there could be communication problems, to say the least. For Ola Stromberg, who'd come to Cumbria from Sweden via the Lebanon, it was a long way for very little. His Saab retired after 12 miles with a broken gearbox. Australian Jim Gleeson thought he was driving into a billabong. After his 10,000-mile trip from Sydney, it was literally an early bath, a drowned engine, and the first flight home after just 5 stage miles. Just to rub it in, Peter Stevenson showed it was all plain sailing, although several others came to grief here. McKinstry, meanwhile, was charging ahead and lapping up the worst that Kielder could offer, having taken second place, splitting the McRae brothers, forcing young Alistair in the Shell Scholarship Sierra down to 3rd position, which he was to hold happily to the end. Not bad for a 21-year-old. On every rally, there's always a local ace who can mix it with the best. On this occasion, it was Dougie Watson-Clark from nearby Carlisle, who was having the drive of his life and up in 4th place, but there were problems just around the corner.
What happened? Hey, what happened?
There's a very fast downhill straight, and it's sort of 4th and 5th gear, and we just hit a depression and broke the strut, and the wheel came off and everything like that, you know, so...
All over?
All over, I'm afraid, yeah.
Meanwhile, our friend Yoshi was pedalling along happily in the Team Gyno Mitsubishi, but things looked more than a little hectic on board.
Oh, a bit tighter. Well, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Oh shit. Doing good enough of a
But you can summon help in any language. As the day wore on, Colin McRae was looking quite uncatchable. But, if it's any consolation to Yoshi, showed that even he can be caught out. Luckily, he chose the right place to go off. Once again, there was a fierce battle in the Junior Championship. Although Richard Forster had crashed out, Mark Higgins was well in control of his works Nova. Only seconds separated him from Johnny Milner and Chris Wood in their private Peugeot 205. There's competition in the junior section to win a coveted drive in November's Lombard RAC. And it was on last year's event that we last saw the winner of the Top Gear Rallycrest competition, Francine Bogg from Hull. She's now back in action as a privateer. I wondered if Yoshi was happy with the day.
Yeah. I must try it again.
What I wasn't sure about, was he talking about the forest or another off-road excursion? Sorry, you won't get out of that one, Yoshi. Like Tokyo, Inverness is a long way from Kielder, but Raymond Munro's journey was worthwhile, 4th overall. Britain's best-known woman driver, Louise Aitken-Walker, was driving as smoothly as ever en route to 5th place, but even she had her moments. Unusually, Trevor Smith had had a whole chapter of mechanical problems to make 6th. So, after 2 events, Colin McRae in the Subaru is now firmly gripping top place in the championship and looks as though he'll take a lot of catching. In the Lombard Junior Championship, it's not the same story at all. Although Milner leads by 2 points, Higgins isn't likely to let him out of sight. Now the back markers are trundling over the finish ramp, having their moment of glory, and we can see that Kielder's lived up to his reputation again. Regrettably, among those beaten by the Forest are our 3 overseas visitors. The next round is the Welsh International Rally, and that is a 2-day event.